Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more Bushido. We're getting through the book. Let's go ahead and kick into this today. First section we are going to read is Analogy of the Sword. A samurai once said, there are only two kinds of willpower. One is within and the other is without. If you don't show it the willpower at the right moment, then it is useless. Allow me to draw an analogy. That of the sword blade. When you occasionally draw the sword out to wipe it, you had better whet the blade. Hold it at eyebrow height, and then put it back into its sheath. On the other hand, if you always keep your sword out of its sheath and swing it about, then no one will come near you, and will have no friends. But if you keep it always in its sheath, then your sword will become dull with rust. Then people will underestimate you. And so what I think he's trying to say is here, don't always show your hand. Like the analogy is, don't always show your hand when you're playing poker, the cards you have. He's saying, let them realize that you can do the job, but don't let them be too afraid because they know just how good you are to come near you, or they underestimate you too much. Show every once in a while that you have the ability. The next part is talent and the times. We sometimes fail to accomplish great works by being too impetuous, by thinking there are miles yet to go. You can reach your goal or object all the sooner. In other words, your season of completion arrives by itself. Let's think 15 years ahead. The world will have totally changed by that time. Although there are books of forecasts in our country, they have nothing particularly new in them. And many who are useful now will have died in 15 years. More than half of the youth presently living will be dead. It is as if, in proportion to the gradual degeneration of the age, silver becomes all important when gold runs out. And when silver runs out, copper becomes the treasure. Likewise, in due course, human ability will slow down with the degeneration of society. So, if you only encourage yourself to pursue those who are ahead of you, you will find yourself still suitable for service in 15 years. After all, 15 years is a comparatively short period of time. And if only you take good care of your health, then you can reach your aim and become useful. This would be very difficult in times when there are many talented people. Yet, it will be easy to distinguish yourself among the new generation on the corrupt age that is developing. In other words, your time will come. This next section is listening to veterans. When you hear a veteran talk, listen to him carefully, even though he may tell you what you already know. In due course, as you listen to the same story 10 times and 20 times, the moment will come when you suddenly understand the point you have been missing. You can take this point to heart. At that time, your understanding will deepen. So don't explain away these stories as just the tedious talks of old folk. Rather, think of old people as the experienced ones. So, in other words, listen to those veterans, those older than you, because their stories or tales may eventually make sense. You'll finally understand them. This section is drop out completely. Only the thrown away have been descended to the depths. Who have descended to the depths will prove useful in the time of need. But those people who can only do one particular task well will be useless. So even those who sometimes seem like they have no use can be valuable, because those who only know how to do one thing very well, not always going to be the ones you want or need around. This next section is samurais, men of action. As I've already recorded in my book, Stupid Opinions, the ultimate objective is to reach the position of chief retainer and express opinions to the Lord. But few people have understood this. If only you could truly understand this fact, the rest can be overlooked. How few men of character there are. By chance, there may be flatterers who fawn on superiors in quest of advancement based on their self-interest. But This type is small and selfish, and is not ambitious enough to hope to achieve the position of chief retainer. Even those who have at least some self possession and who are able to remain detached from profit and desire, even they do not step into the extreme of service. They enjoy reading Sure Zuregosa, blah, Sure Zuregosa by Kenko and Senshuko by Saigo. But these two ex-samurais are waste disjointed cowards. Cowards because they could not fulfill the requisites of samurais, and so they pretended to live lives of hermits. Nowadays, bonzes, monks, and elderly people may be justified in reading such works. But samurais must be serviceable to the Lord. They must jump into the midst of the world of profit and honor, and if necessary, run through the hell of egocentric calculations and self interest. So, one of the most valuable positions was chief retainer to a lord. They were considered very high, very important in a clan because they were the primary advisor to a lord. And he's basically saying, you don't really want yes men, people who don't really understand. You really want someone whose opinion is valuable. Now, the next section we're going to read is the family grant. That'll be the last section we read today. Tsunetomo said to his adopted son, Gonojo, the youth of today have become effeminate. The day has come when people mistakenly praise the good-natured, weak, willing characters, and the affable as smooth and gentle fellows. So they tend not to reach far enough, nor do they cleave their way to their goal. Their spirits wither because they strongly adhere to their grants and are afraid to lose them. You may think that you must never destroy the fief of the family that you were adopted into. You may think that your forefathers have taken great pains to achieve this grant. But this is only a tendency of the society. My views are quite different. While I was actively giving myself to service, I thought nothing of the grant. From the beginning, the grant belongs to the Lord. We need not spare it or grudge it, nor think it important. It will be extremely satisfying if we have an appropriate or an opportunity to do Ronin and Harakiri connected with our service during our lifetime. It is these two, Ronin and Harakiri, and nothing more that lead to the end of samurais. Still, it will be deplorable and regrettable to allow one's house to crumble for trivial reasons. Therefore, you must never defile yourself by lagging behind your fellow samurai, by being an inadequate samurai, by acting according to self desire, by doing harm to your colleagues. If you happen to bring your house to ruin for other reasons, this is quite acceptable. If you are thus determined, your hand reaches itself far, your power becomes truly full, and you can do your work with great energy. So, yeah, the whole idea is what you are truly meant to do is serve your family and the house of the Lord, the clan. And it's really one of the first times we hear heavy about um, harakiri. We've heard Ronin before, but it's one of the first times we hear harakiri and Ronin really being talked about as the end of the samurai. Ronin being a masterless samurai. And then harakiri is ritual suicide by a samurai, in which you disembowel yourself. I believe it's you get down on your knees and you drive your own blade into you, and you're forced to disembowel yourself. And he says those are the only two true ways for the end of a samurai: to either have no master or death. So it's either seppuku or harakiri. That's you're on your knees and you commit the ritual suicide by disembowelment. I can't remember which it is, but they both are suicide. Seppuku and harakiri. Give me a moment. I'll try to get that information to you. Seppuku versus harakiri. Really, internet? Disconnect. Connect automatically. My internet sucks so much. It's ridiculous. Come on. Whatever. But I think harakiri is the ritual suicide. I know seppuku is just permitted suicide as a way of death. I think. I may be wrong on that. I wanted to look it up, but my internet sucks ass. Anyway, as always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. If they try to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, later.